Hello guys, Winston here. For over 2 years now, the workspaces for my projects have all been exercises in transience. Between life as a student and life as a working adult, I've never been able to justify investing very much effort towards setting up a workshop because I never knew how long I'd be in a given location. But with the recent renewal of my lease in my current residence, I decided it was time to stop letting my CNC setup sprawl across the secondary living room on folding plastic tables like a filthy casual. It was time to set up a proper workspace. The first step towards improvement was to admit that my shop layout was terrible. The vast majority of my storage and workspace was one-dimensional. Both active projects and occasionally used tools were all kept on top of my table. By moving to a tiered bench system, I could do more with less space. One product I've seen floating around a lot in workshops is the 2x4 Basics kit. These are a set of injection molded legs and brackets that you can buy to basically build your own table. It's not exactly cheap when you add in the cost of all the lumber you'll need, and it's a bit time consuming to assemble, at least by yourself, but it still gets you more table per dollar than basically anything else out there, even when compared to your Harbor Freight options. I bought the full kit, which included brackets for 2 shelves, and assembled it in an afternoon. I planned at a table that would be 8 feet wide and 3 feet deep. The tabletop and lower storage tier would be 3/4 inch MDF since Lowe's didn't stock 1/2 inch. I had 2 4x8 sheets cut into 4x3 panels for ease of transport, and that also left me with some leftover material that I could use as machining stock in the future. Assembling this workbench isn't really rocket science, so let's skip to the upgrades I made to it. Phase 2 of my workshop improvement plan revolved around usability. For both my personal convenience and my photographic needs, I installed some LED light strips to illuminate my tabletop. I bought the same kind of waterproof strips that I put into my Shapeoko 2 enclosure. These strips are encased in a flexible resin that keep water and, more importantly, dust off the SMD diodes and contacts. Some minor soldering was all that was required to attach some simple connectors to the ends of my adhesive-backed LED strips. The next step was to organize my CNC's power supplies. Both the Shapeoko 3 and the Quiet Cut spindle I often use have their own DC adapters. These modules and their associated wiring tend to clutter up a sizable area on my table, so I decided to make a little tower of power, if you will. I cut out some simple MDF shelves, including one with slots cut in it so I could fix my spindle motor controller in place. An extra hole was drilled on that shelf so I could also install the speed control potentiometer. This cleaned up my CNC setup tremendously and made everything a lot more convenient to use. Lastly, because I sometimes run longer CNC programs and I don't always want to sit around to watch them to completion, I made a mount for a networked camera. Yes, I know it's not best practices in a machine shop to leave things unattended while running, but who hasn't run a job over dinner or dessert? Anyhow, I had an old iPod with a camera that wasn't being used, so I figured I could install a remote camera app on it and use it to monitor my CNC while I wasn't in the room. I cut out a very basic angled mount that I could screw into a 2x4 upright. The iPod was attached to it with a simple square of double-sided adhesive. Now I can monitor my CNC from anywhere in the house at basically no cost. Those features wrapped up phase 2 of my workshop improvement, and with that I declared my little machine shop of horrors operational. There are a few more tweaks and additions I plan to make to my workbench, including a fold-away blast shield to contain debris when I use my DWP 611, but for now I can finally return to my backlog of projects. Let me know in the comments below if you have any handy organizing tips or efficiency suggestions from your own workshops to share. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I'll be back in a couple weeks with more DIY projects and disasters.